very good morning to each one of you. Thank you all for joining us from across the world this morning. Evenings in some cases, for a lot of you joining from different countries and time zones. I sincerely hope that the pandemic hasn't started yet. This is the second wave we are talking about, and we don't know about the third. And I hope it hasn't done much harm to our mental well being. I agree that these are tough times, but keeping ourselves busy and productive things will only help us sail these times through smoothly. First off, let me start with sharing the idea of sourcescholarship.com with you all. I come from a middle class society where studying abroad has been a dream for every parent who want who want to make a reality for the children. Affordability is the primary factor in such cases, awareness being the secondary one, and finally the accessibility and the right kind of information. While majority of the foreign university admissions until the year 2000 came from the word of mouth, where families used to rely on the information provided by those family members that had their children studying abroad. Then came the counselors and international universities, regional office awareness programs, which got more students interested to go abroad for their higher education with the right kind of information. Affordability was still the issue. Many of these universities had scholarship available, but due to the lack of communications, the same were seldom used. Till today, there are billions of dollars in scholarships given away by either the universities, governments under refugee programs, family offices, CSR funds, or simply from the amazing funds created by the old students of the universities for the most deserving students. The idea of sourcescholarship.com is to collate all the scholarships available under the sun on our website, may it be stream wise, undergrad wise, postgrad wise, ethnicity wise, demography wise, or simply gender wise, and that too from the top 500 universities from around the world. Imagine if you could find all such information on a single platform where the student could take a psychometric test to know more about their career choice, read about some amazing niche UG courses, speak to the faculties, get mentorship from students who have completed these courses, and know more about their future employability from the very same folks who have done this before, and then apply for the admissions and also get the best scholarship that they deserve. A dream? Not anymore. As sourcescholarship.com is exactly doing the same, and that too free of cost. So here we are today, taking the first baby step to start a dialogue on a seamless transition of a future workforce from schools to the university partners, making international higher education accessible and affordable for all. Another problem that I want to address through this platform is the mob mentality. Our country has seen four major mob mentalities since last 2 decades: MBBS, engineering, MBA, and MCA. While I organize at least 5 conferences a year, I hear this line quite frequently that we are preparing our children for a job of the future that does not exist now. My submission is that have we ever tried to decode what these jobs could look like? In one of my conversations with the famous VJ Nikhil Chinappa, he shared with me that Ravi, I own a good car. I take international holidays with my wife besides my work travel. I can afford business class travel, luxurious stays, and everything that anyone can dream of. And hey, I'm not a doctor, engineer, management professional, or an entrepreneur. I'm a VJ. Who could have thought about being a VJ or DJ could be a full-time profession when Nikhil was in school? Through sourcescholarship.com, it is our effort to showcase the offbeat courses like paramedic science, forensic science, ward studies, culinary art, liberal arts, music, and many more such courses, which could very well end up getting our children those jobs of the future that do not exist now. Before I introduce our keynote speaker, let me quickly take you all through what you can expect over the next 2 days. Right after I finish speaking, we have a keynote session by Eric Ford. Post that, we have 3 roundtable discussions with the most amazing educators of the country and beyond. Tomorrow, we have a keynote session by Jason Newman of QS, and then 3 roundtable sessions, post which we have a short unveiling of our Australia Education Fair. All these sessions will be live on ScooNews, Facebook, and YouTube handles. Feel free to watch them, share them with your friends, and do not forget to share your thoughts using the comment section on FB and YouTube. It is time for me to invite our first keynote speaker, Eric Ford, to address the August gathering. Give me just one moment and let me check if he has joined our meeting. Let's give Eric another 5 minutes. I mean, the time is 11:15, and I just finished speaking in just 5 minutes. So I'll quickly share the screen, and we'll request you all to wait for another couple of minutes or a little more till the time Eric joins. Good morning, Eric.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, Eric. Thank you. And we are live. Just give me a minute to introduce you, and then the stage is all yours. Great. First off, thank you very much, Eric, for joining us. And it's time for me to kind of invite you to take on the stage. A little introduction about Eric. Eric Falt is the director and UNESCO representative for the UNESCO New Delhi office, covering Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, the Maldives, and Sri Lanka. From 2010 to 2018, he was based at UNESCO headquarters in Paris as the Assistant Director General for External Relations and Public Information, with the rank of Assistant Secretary General of the UN. Mr. Falt served from 2007 to 2010 as Director of the Outreach Divisions at the United Nations Department of Public Information in New York. Prior to that position, he was Director of Communication for the United Nations Environment Program, based at its global headquarters in Nairobi. Throughout the 1990s and until 2002, he served in peacekeeping and humanitarian operations in Cambodia, Haiti, and Iraq, and as a director of the UN Information Center in Pakistan. I've been a great fan of Eric's Instagram stories where he captures the normal lives so beautifully and connect them to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. A very warm welcome to you, Eric, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ravi. Perhaps at the outset, and while some of you might already be aware, I think it's important to familiarize everyone with the basic definition of global citizenship education, which is today's theme of discussion. Global citizenship education is really about, and foremost, about educating students to tolerance, cultural diversity, acceptance of differences, and thus inclusion. And that is really at the core of the Sustainable Development Goal agenda, and more specifically, Sustainable Development Goal 4. In fact, one of the targets of SDG 4, I hope I'm not using too many acronyms, is really calling upon member states specifically to ensure by 2030 that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, and it promotes global citizenship education very specifically. Therefore, global citizenship education is really an approach to empower learners of all ages to understand global issues and become active promoters of peaceful, tolerant, inclusive, secure, and sustainable societies. It is about imparting cognitive, socio-emotional, and behavioral skills. Globally, and I insist on globally, it is a fact that youth must be better empowered to be resilient to violence and to become true citizens of the world. Human rights violations, conflicts between countries, and escalating intolerance have to be combated. In a globally connected and interdependent world, education needs to focus on not merely the cognitive knowledge, but also encompass communication skills and create a sense of belonging with humanity as a whole. That is why we believe that global citizenship education fosters these values. For instance, let's make it more particular to India. And here we see that in the country, the freedom struggle spearheaded by Mahatma Gandhi opposed colonialism and its human rights violation through the unique concept of ahimsa, or nonviolence. This was then implemented through satyagraha, holding on the truth by non-violent assistance. And I believe that it serves actually as a great example of using global citizenship values to develop more peaceful societies. In 2020, UNESCO carried out a research on the need to assess global citizenship education learning outcomes in India. And the study highlighted that while the country has made significant progress in integrating the concepts and approaches promoted through global citizenship education in policy and curricula, there's still some significant strides that we need to make to address remaining gaps and challenges. For instance, our research showed that the teachers interviewed were not fully aware themselves of the concept of global citizenship education. Therefore, you can expect that the students, therefore, were not. We also found that while the curriculum content did have elements of global citizenship education, the assessment process did not focus on global citizenship education. We found that mathematics teachers in particular were unsure about how to incorporate global citizenship education in their lessons. And they stated that mathematics are universal and abstract and hence cannot be linked to global citizenship education, which is essentially related to human factors. Perhaps this was a little bit short-sighted, but you can't really blame these mathematics teachers. And all in all, these are critical challenges that we need to address. Since a large number of school principals and educators are participating, I believe, in this event, I can only stress the need to pay due attention to issues related to global citizenship education and train teachers on the matters, equipping them with the required knowledge and skills to effectively teach the subject. And I really have to mention that it is not just India which is facing such challenges. When we had an analysis of 110 national curriculum frameworks documents for primary and secondary education over the period of 2005-2015, so it's starting to be a bit dated, but the report highlighted the challenge of mainstreaming global citizenship education in curricula pretty much everywhere. While human rights were the most prevalent items reflected in curriculum content, less reference was made to terms related specifically to global citizenship, such as multiculturalism and interculturalism, and also, I want to mention here, gender equality. Hence, it's not just in India, but globally, that we need to ensure that we continue to advocate for global citizenship education. More generally, as we move forward, we know that it is critical to build resilient education systems so that we can reach equitable and sustainable development, and specifically promote human rights and empathy through global citizenship education. We know so it is important to develop new partnerships and involve not only governments, but also civil society, youth groups, the media, religious leaders, private sector, school communities, and also go down to the family level if possible. To alter and question negative stereotypes of the other is also very important. For example, through dialogue between different religious traditions and through media and online platforms that can promote mutual understanding and tolerance through fair, unbiased, and sensitive reporting. I know that's also very much an important topic of today. And finally, I want to mention that we must better research the interplay between offline and online paths to radicalization and the experiences of individual users. All in all, and after having said that, I want to say that I'm very happy to also report that global citizenship education is actually a key strategic area of Unesco's education sector program, and it builds on the work that we do specifically related to peace and human rights education. It aims to instill in leaders the values. Values is a word I've already used twice, but I want to use again. Attitudes and behaviors that support responsible global citizenship, creativity, innovation, and a commitment to peace, human rights, and sustainable development. The role of UNESCO is to promote education by providing a space for young people to understand processes that sustain racism, to learn from the past, and to stand up for human rights. Through new approaches to intercultural dialogue and learning, we believe that youth and communities at large can be equipped with the skills to eradicate harmful stereotypes and foster tolerance. Education everywhere has a critical role in fostering knowledge, attitudes, and the behavior for peace, inclusion, and respect for all that is entailed in this conceptual framework of global citizenship education. And I really want to say to all of the viewers today that we are available for a partnership with all of you who advocate for a global citizenship education and may have new and innovative ideas and initiatives. And in this context, I would also like to thank you, Ravi, and your team from ScooNews for organizing this discussion like you do many other topics. It's important to bring a particular focus on global citizenship education, which, as I've said, is a concept that is still not completely understood yet. I am cognizant that India itself has a rich tradition of Vasudeva Kutumbakam since time immemorial. And given the country's already rich diversity, the task of achieving global citizenship education here may be achieved with perhaps more ease than in other countries. And there is a need nevertheless to develop a deeper awareness and understanding. So thank you very much. And I hope all of you will have a wonderful discussion over the next hour or so.
Thank you very much, Eric, for the wonderful keynote session today. And I'm sure, I'll request your office to have a detailed workshop on GCED, for a lot of educators who would benefit from this. And I'll soon write an email to you, and let's have a detailed workshop on the same topic sometime soon. Thank you very much, and I hope you're staying safe and indoors. And let's hope that we get to meet again. Thank you very much. And we are all set for the first principles roundtable. Welcome, Ajay sir, Dr. Arunab, Dr. Ashok Pandey, and Manisha. Unfortunately, Dr. Ananke Saha couldn't join us today, but I request our session chair, Dr. Arunab Singh, to take it forward from here. A very warm welcome to all. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Arunab.
I think Arnab is muted, Ravi. Arnab?
Thank you for inviting us to this forum, ScooNews and Source Scholarships. I'm joined by my mentor and co-panelists. Am I audible to everybody?
Yeah.
Great. For some reason I'm not able to hear you. Can you just say something so I know I can hear you?
I don't know.
We can hear you very well.
I'm not able to hear you. Check.
I don't know. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
It should work. Am I audible to now?
Yes, you are.
I can hear you as well. So thank you. So a pleasure to be a part of this forum. And I was listening to Ravi and Eric, and I know you're probably on it as well. And Ravi was speaking about the middle-class child finally getting some access to overseas education. And as Ravi was sort of creating that personality of that child who's aspiring for this access, I was kind of remembering me as a 19-year-old trying to access education overseas. And I'm sure as in your roles, you experience these students as well, where there is nobody in the past who has had the good fortune of even considering these choices. So without further ado, let's start. And I would want to go back and revisit my youth a little before we start the questions for the day. So we're joined by Dr. Ashok Pandey. Dr. Ashok Pandey is not just a doctor with a PhD, but with a DLit. He has been my mentor for the longest time, and I look up to him for some fantastic work that he's done and fantastic leaders that he's produced in his life. I also have the pleasure of being with Mr. Ajay Singh. I knew him as the principal of the Genesis Global School in Noida, and now Sir leads Punjab Public School, Naba. I've heard, sir, you've got a helipad in your school, amongst many other things, and it's a huge campus and a glorious school that you run there. I've seen some photographs, hoping that post the pandemic, I'd probably be allowed inside the school premises once. And
Certainly, God willing.
So thank you for joining us. And we have Manisha. Manisha is representing RMIT. And Manisha, a lot of questions are going to go towards you today. When I was hearing the previous two speakers, Eric spoke about values quite often. And Ravi spoke about how when we attempt this access is limited by many reasons. One of them is the unavailability of information, and other, I think, stems from the value system that the industry operates in as well. So I'll use my example to set the context, but I feel it is perhaps valid for many students even right now. So I graduated from Hindu College, University of Delhi, and I think our government, among some things it has done well, it has done well in the higher education segment of the country, where we have good professors and good environments that we've been able to create. How I wish we would have been able to create many more than we have, but the ones we have are doing a good job, be it in arts or in sciences or commerce. I think we've got some phenomenal world-class establishments in place. And in total, the 3 years at Hindu College had costed my parents a total of 7,500 rupees. This was 2,500 into 3. That was the fee of the university. And for my master's, I went to King's in London. And from Heathrow to reaching my halls of residence had costed my parents more money than my entire graduation had costed them. So yes, it was a prestigious institution to be a part of, but to that middle class family, it was a big outlay of money that was taking place. And in that journey, I remember trying to find information. And now, of course, it is much easier with the internet. But while information is available on the internet, misinformation is also as easily available on the internet. And somehow the ecosystem is filled with people who would, for the want of a better word, misguide students to take up offers in far lower rung institutions only because it would meet their own targets. I'm hoping that in this conversation that we're going to have in the next 40-45 minutes, we will talk about how, as school leaders, we can provide a canvas to our students that is inclusive and that is also equitable, and also hear from Manisha what advices does she have for schools and for these young learners, how they can avoid these traps and actually get access to the best in-class education that's available. It's a good thing here that we have one school head from a day school environment and one school head from a residential environment. So let me go to them first, and then with some questions based on what they've said as well, I'll come to you, Manisha. Does that work for you? Right, okay. Manisha, my first question actually comes to you. Your schools are based in Delhi, and it's a day school, and primarily the urban middle class or higher middle class population subscribes to your institutions, and also the 25% of the RTE children would come to you. Now, this is a place where aspirations are high, and you allowed your children to dream big. But once that has happened, how does a school like Alcon, what does it do to make sure that the students are able to make the right kind of choices?
Yeah, thank you, Arnav. Could you help me by telling me how much time I have in this segment so that...
So if we can have the first answer for, say, a maximum of 5 minutes each, and then based on how much time we've got left, we'll plan accordingly.
Great. So thank you very much once again, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the company of Manisha, Ajay, you, and I think Ravi is also in the background. It is a very good day, the new year of Vikram Samvat calendar, Vaishakhi, Navratri, what not. So greetings to all of you on this wonderful day. You have already articulated some of the things which I'm going to share. So, early, you talked about Alphonse, so let me share that experience. Early, this century, I can say, 2003, 2004, we established career counseling department, which at that time was considered luxury or extravagant, and people thought that it has zero return on investment. But we took the plunge and we are reaping the benefits of that. So that is first thing. And the entire career counseling program, Arnav, was based on 4 pillars. And one of that you have already mentioned, that is information, discrimination, passion, and persuasion. So these are the 4 pillars: information, lack of correct information, and plenty of wrong information. So I'll give you only 2 exemplars here. For a very, very long time, even the best schools in the country, they didn't know that some of the best IITs in the country, they offer courses in humanities also, you see. And even today, 95% of the parents in the country, they don't know that the entire undergraduate education in Germany is tuition free, you see. So this is the lack of correct information and lack of and plenty of incorrect information or misinformation, as you use the word. I mean, our students in the US were jailed and radio tagged because they got into some of the fake universities few years ago. So we have got that example. So that is where I come from. Information, discrimination, I mean, what exactly you want to do, what is right for you, what is not right for you, what you can afford, what you can access. I think that needs a lot of counseling. And third, of course, is, do you have a passion and purpose and you really want to pursue it, or you have got some other information and aspiration or pressure or whatever it is. So it is very important for the children to know what inspires them, who are the people they would like to work with, what gives them those mojo moments. I think these are very, very important. So these are the 4 pillars. The second thing, of course, I'll tell you is, the alumni, we leveraged the potential of alumni very well, and we developed an alumni community of practices. So they became our ambassadors. So we used 4 principles there: connecting with them, communicating with them, acknowledging their achievements, and celebrating their achievements. We celebrate existing students, but we don't celebrate what our alumni are doing. Once in a while, if they have become celebrities, we invite them as chief guest in our function, but that's not enough. I think every alumni has some potential and they are doing something well, and their network can be leveraged. So that is what we did. And when alumni come and connect with the existing students, believe me, the power of influence that they wield is much higher than anybody else, right? And of course, the third thing, I think I have got about a minute or so, when universities started coming to us, we started nudging them that, come on, look, don't tell us what courses you offer, don't tell us your fees, don't tell us the financial assistance, of course we need it, but all this is available on your website. What is not available on your website is that what do you do in the classrooms? What will be the learning experience of the children? How do you bring research inquiry in the classrooms? What are the potential possibilities they have post completion of their course? And believe me, that created a different kind of experience. So that was the third thing, of course. And the last thing in this segment I want to tell you, Arnav, is that, in our country, we have done a very good thing in the primary education, 100% enrollment almost. But, the dropout is so high that by the time they reach higher education, it remains only 25%. So I think that is a big chunk where we have to work very hard. The national education policy has envisaged that they will double up this enrollment at the higher education. So I think affordability and accessibility will have that corner also to be visited. And some of the experiences I have shared with you, probably we can elaborate upon some of them if time permits. Thank you, Arnav.
Thank you very much, sir. I think you've set the context quite right. And schools need to understand the responsibility that they have. And while some schools would be able to afford having full-time career guidance cells, many others would need to have at least some people designated or some things that they're doing. And I will come to that, and hopefully Manisha would be able to share with us what happens when a school doesn't have a career guidance cell like at Alcon. How can we still assist our students? I want to move to Mr. Ajay Singh. Sir, Punjab Public School Nabha was established in 1960. So you've been doing this for very many years, and I'm assuming that in all that while you would have learned a thing or two that can actually become good practice to the world at large. I was at your website yesterday, and I saw you have a career guidance philosophy. And for people who are tuned in, go visit Punjab Public School Nabha's website and see how not only have they mentioned their famous alums, but they've also mentioned where they are now and how many students they have helped or guided so far. I've not come across something like this, and I'm totally going to pick this for our school. But sir, could you guide us a little more on how do you bring in your alums, because you're not even in the same city as them. So how do they contribute back to students who are currently on rolls?
Thank you, Arnab, and greetings to one and all, Dr. Ashok Pandey, my senior at Mayo, and of course, a guru, Manisha, and Ravi, and Arnab, you yourself, and especially on the Baisakhi day. So a very important question, especially for PPS, because we have a very strong and robust ONA network across Canada or UK, across the world. And the best part is they have been more than happy to help out the school whenever the school reaches out. So the first thing what we do is we have an induction ceremony, a powerful induction ceremony for the passing out batch, which is seen by the school in the auditorium. So they come in, we have a full-fledged individual passing of the manual, the forms and everything to every class 12 child, and they're formally inducted. And on that day, they give their presentations, they give their full philosophy, and that's how the first information sharing happens in a very, very healthy environment on high tea as well as a formal function. Now, they are the ones who actually reach out to us when we reach out to them that there is a boy or there is a girl and you are based in that place. So could you help out? So we have scholarship programs, we have information network programs with them. And what we have done is the full compilation of the last 61 years has been digitized now. So we know exactly where everybody is, as you have pointed out rightfully. And thanks to all the people who have been at NABHA, we have a full resource where we can reach out to those people at that places if some student wishes to be at that particular place. So this is how the information is transmitted. This is how the information is given back to the student, and they reach out to that alumni network. We also have a very good ONA day, which is part of our celebrations. So that again bonds every child with the ONA, and they become a family sort of trying to help out and help out every child who's a family in PPS.
For people who are not from residential schools, what is OMA?
ONA, the old NABHA Association. I'm so sorry. It's the old NABHA Association. I'm in the alumni network. So pardon me for that. Along with this, we have a very powerful, as pointed out by Ashok sir, we have also a very important and vibrant career desk. Now, if you look at our segment which comes in to the school, it's primarily Canada driven. So a typical child coming to our school, whether it comes from the city or the robust farming background or the typical PIND, aspires to be an aspirational Canadian citizen. That's a trend which we are looking at. But the whole philosophy is you need to land up in Canada, but for what? So this is where again the information comes in, that it is not only landing up in Canada for XYZ, where you don't even know for what course you're going. So this has been happening for some students who are misled by people outside. Now what we have done is we have brought it on campus so that there is no misinformation. All correct information is dished out, and we are trying to reach out and explain to the parent as well as the child with common forums that Canada is a good destination, but for a degree program or a higher education program where we need to send the child, not necessarily for just landing up in Canada. So this is what we have also taken the initiative to move ahead with. It is a part of social mobility which I'm looking at, moving to the world outside from typical Punjab. So this is where we have tried and located as to why they want to move to Canada. So this reason is what we're trying to answer, and that is where we are getting a lot of help and support from the parents, and now they're understanding. So a good vibrancy, career desk. The second drive is to make every teacher a kind of a career counselor. This is what we need to inculcate. So we had sessions for our teachers as part of ongoing professional development program, where every teacher needs to understand that yes, it is part of their information also, if not in the entire spectrum, at least in their field. So this is what we are looking at, to empower every teacher to be a counselor in himself or herself. So that's how the ONA really acts as a very powerful mechanism for us. And of course, they also come up with scholarships. So this adds on to the value of the ONA membership in the school.
Thank you for putting that out, sir. And I think also because, and I was just having this conversation with a student in the school in the morning, that when you're looking at going overseas, your first source of information is either somebody from your extended family who's done this, or is from your school. And when that is not forthcoming, that is when you're going out on the market and looking for advertisements that are there in the newspapers. And I wouldn't mention the organization, but the one that I went to told me that there is no way that I was going to qualify the top tier colleges in the world. And I said, why? I'm at a decent college. I'm a university ranker. I'm doing theater. What else did I need to do? Which type of students go there? And this lady says, well, not your type. So what I ended up doing, and in hindsight, it was a good decision, was I told her, okay, fine, we don't apply there. But I made sure that I applied personally to all of those colleges. And as luck would have it, all of them sent me an offer letter. But if I hadn't taken that chance, and if I had been more impressionable, then maybe that is not something that would have come my way. Manisha, I want to come to you with this thought, and with a master's in psychology and another in business administration, and with your role with RMIT and how with South Asia, you are leading these students to make the right career choices. Would you be able to list for us things that your university is doing, what the kind of engagements that you're doing with schools? I'm hoping it's not going to be a sales pitch, but an information set of this is something that is available on the horizon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arnab Singh, and greetings to everyone here. Great to be here with such esteemed speakers today. I can relate to a lot of experiences shared today because I am from a middle-class family as well. And when I aspired to study overseas, it was exactly the same situation for me. Where to go, what are the finances involved, what is the information I need. And I still remember the day before I had to travel to Australia, my father said, what about your accommodation? And I was like, haven't done anything about it. So there are so many steps to it. There is excitement, there is nervousness, and there's also that fear of what you don't know about what you're going into. So completely relatable experiences. And Dr. Pandey, what you mentioned about the areas where schools find it difficult or have challenges in guiding their students, those are again something that we have encountered when we have started working with the university in India to see what we can do better to guide the students. So just to give a very brief background about RMIT University, it is one of the largest universities in Australia based in Melbourne. And we currently have about 97,000 students across all our campuses. It is a big university. So in order to support what we are doing in India vis-a-vis the school engagement, the university has a dedicated team based out of India. We have an office in Delhi, and this office services the whole of South Asia region. We are in the same time zone. We are the first point of contact for schools, for students, for counselors, in case they need any information. Over the past 2 years, we have done a lot of different programs. We have done a lot of activities, which we think will help students understand what overseas education looks like, experience it from the comfort of their home since the COVID has started. So to give an example of a few of these, we have been doing a summer school program since 2017. The summer school program will have students from select schools come to a city in India. We invite our academics to come down to India, and we have a 4-day intensive academic program. So we choose one of the subject areas which the students would like to study. So they're actually in an RMIT classroom. They are doing their studies, they're experiencing what the education would look like. And we do a lot of social activities as well to give them a feeler of what the cultural life or what the social life would be if they're away from home. So this we've been running for the last 3 years. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we could not do it in 2020 and this year. In 2020, we launched another program called the Global Extension Studies Program. And I think RMIT is one of the only international universities to be offering it to Indian students. So under this program, this was a online program. Students attended virtual classes. And we again had a topic on introduction to IT. We chose students from across India, and students attended classes with our academics. They had assignments or assessments, and they were given grades. The students who successfully completed the programs, whenever they apply to RMIT in the future for a bachelor's program, would get credit for that program, which means they don't have to study that subject. Their fees would come down, and they would be able to get that experience again from the comfort of their home. So these are the two main programs that we've run over the past few years. Apart from this, the university has established a Global Schools Network, GSN network, and we invite schools to come and become a part of this network. We share monthly newsletters with them. We invite them to our subject-specific webinars, and these webinars are not just about the programs that we offer, but they talk about the future of work. You know, with the disruptive technologies, influence of AI, there are careers and jobs which we can't even dream of right now. So we prepare the students and counselors for those kind of career options. What can they do? You know, will accounting still be in demand, or will AI take it over? So these are just some of the things that we talk to the students about. So these are some of the initiatives that we have done. We've run professional development workshops in conjunction with the state government of Victoria for counselors. So this is another initiative where the university wants to engage directly with schools, provide them information as much as possible. We've run video competitions for school students through Austrade, which is the business wing of the Australian High Commission in India. The winners of the competitions have had a chance to visit the university. So again, they experience what the university looks like. So what I've given you is just a few examples of what the university is doing. And we are open to ideas. If the schools want to engage more with us, they want to do a certain kind of activities with us, we are more than happy to engage in discussions with them. Dr. Pandey, your school was one of the schools that participated in our summer school program in the first year, which was 2017. And I think they came back in 2018 as well. So I'm sure you've experienced that, and your students would have shared that experience with you as well. So this bit hopefully would address some of the things that have been raised in terms of providing information and giving these students an experience of what international education looks like.
Thank you for sharing that, Manisha. And a lot of these initiatives would actually give a student a sort of a dipstick into the eventual experience that they can expect. And as I was listening to you, I was also reminded of the fact that the school leader is getting to make a lot of these decisions, sitting in the confines of their office and with their limited exposure. And I want to go to Dr. Ashok Pandey with this concern and hope that there is some clarity that he would bring to the topic, as he always does. So as school leaders, we are in many ways guardians of all of those students, and even their families are looking at us to be giving the right kind of advice to their students. Now, a parent may be asking me if a particular university in Japan is worth going, while I've never been to Japan, let alone knowing what the university in Japan is all about. And a lot of times we get people who are coming to the schools and saying, well, my university has this offer for your students and the university has that offer for the students. And earlier you mentioned about your students who were in the US and found themselves that they had made the wrong choices. So with this context, my question to you as a school leader is, what are some things or safeguards that school principals should be putting for themselves and for their students to make sure that our filter only puts through the most relevant and authentic opportunities for our children? So you're still muted, sir.
Sorry, yeah. So I think there's something very profound that you have raised, but I think I'll comment a bit on Manisha, what she said. In fact, I hinted at it when I spoke in the beginning. The universities coming to schools with innovative programs, and RMIT's this summer school immersion program was one of those innovative programs. 10 of my students in 2 cohorts, they participated in it. And I think it was a very, very exhilarating experience. I call it was a simulation impact of the university itself. And of course, this video and all that, I think they're also, 4 of our students got iPad, and I thought that one should have come to me as well, but it didn't happen. So that is a different story altogether. But, coming to your question now, I think a school leader, I put a lot of premium on school leaders' role. So first of all, they have to be a very trustworthy person, And I think if they are trustworthy and the parents and the students trust the principal, I think a lot of problems are solved, okay? So then you can take a decision. Ultimately, you want the best of your child, So you have to bring them good information. You have to bring them good resources. You have to bring them good options. And you have to sponsor them, Sponsor them in the sense that when Canadian universities started coming to me in large number, I requested them that, look, every year you come, you talk to 100 students, you go back, and not a single student is going to a university. I think you're wasting your time, money, and energy. And then the vice president of the university said that, what do I do? I said, why don't you declare that one full scholarship and 150% scholarship will go to a student of Alcon if he or she fulfills all our admission criteria. And when we announced it, there were 20 applications for it. You see? So I think this kind of give and take and negotiation. The first time when Kyoto University came to us, even I had not heard about it. So I talked to them, what is this and that, and anyway. And when we opened it, no student came forward to go to Japan. That was the first year, I'm talking 10, 12 years ago. But we convinced one parent, and believe me, and he agreed, and that student went almost on 80% scholarship. And he became the brand ambassador of Kyoto University. And on his strength, his brother also went there. And both of them have made international career today. So I'm giving you these typical examples just to suggest that a school leader has to be a very, very thoughtful person and has to look for opportunities in every nook and corner. And you bring one opportunity to one child, and that gets scaled up in a different situation. Not that everybody will get a scholarship, but certainly they will gain something. They will get the best university to go to. Our German experience is very, very nice, and I would like to share it. As I said, undergraduate education is free. You only have to pay for your living, accommodation, and transport. Tuition is free. And people didn't know it. And we have German language, and they are excellent in German language. They don't have to do ABC certificate. They do it here. And dozens of them have made a career in Germany today. So I think in response to your question, all I can say is our principal's role is very, very crucial, but the principal has to keep his or her ears, eyes open, his relationship, negotiating ability, and a very, very inner urge to do something extraordinary for his or her students.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'm glad that you're doing it despite the fact that you're not getting the iPad.
My students have got it, so I'm happy.
Thank you for putting that right in the center of it. That we need to be more reflective and perhaps do more reading. And you also hinted on the parent partnership that very strongly comes in, because it is a big decision that parents are taking. And in a way, it is taking a flight to something that we don't know anything about. And I want to go to Mr. Singh with this next question. So in your previous response, you'd mentioned about how the demographic of your school is more Canada driven, and that could perhaps be because of the state that you're from, and people of that state have done well in that country. And how, as a school, you are trying to raise aspirations and dreams for these children to say, well, you can do a lot more than just landing up in that country. And this is where parent partnerships would come in really handy. But they are still easy for us to call a parent. A day school principal doesn't hesitate in calling the parent at 11 o'clock in the morning and expect them in their office at 11:30. But that is not the luxury that a boarding school principal is able to afford. And a lot of times you would only meet these parents maybe once when the child was admitted to the school, and not after that, because they might even be from different countries. So how are you bridging that gap? And now even more so because everything is online. So how is Punjab Public School Naba actually bridging that gap and making sure that these kids are able to outperform themselves and have high aspirations?
Great question. Because to a larger extent, as you have mentioned, and the demography which exists in our school is essentially the community which is more into farming and more rural than urban, though it's a mixture of all the communities, but essentially they are more rural than urban. But all said and done, the parents are so receptive that when you reach out to them, they do come back to you. So what we do is we set up dates that on this day, we are reaching out to you. We are having a full career session for all the students, including the parents. So on that day, we try and give the information as to what all exists in countries. And as rightly mentioned by Dr. Pandey, Germany has been brought up, and we could find that excitement that yes, it can be a free education hub because tuition is free, your entire curriculum is free except for the living expenses. But predominantly, then we also tell them that these are the courses which are more important. Then we also, once they're on campus, they come in good numbers. So that's the bright part of it. Even though it's a residential school, they do come in good numbers. And we also tell them about Hong Kong, about university in Israel. They're one of the best for engineering, and they have come with robust programs for scholarships. And I'm trying to reach out and convince my children. But you see, sometimes it's all about not having that convincing for that particular group. Maybe the next year it may bear fruit. Hong Kong is one destination I would like my kids to go. Hong Kong University of Science and Technology is a fabulous university, and Singapore near home. So not only Canada is an option, but also to reach out to other places which have equally powerful programs. I also try and reach out to them because I have been doing myself passionately career counseling for more than 20 years. So I see that value and that importance of doing it right way. So I reach out to them by telling them that, look, even in Canada, it's so powerful that it's a co-op program. They don't know that it's co-op program. So this information also is doled out, so they understand the value of going for now a higher education than just merely landing up in Canada. Also, I do also reach out to look at universities in India as higher education destinations for some parents who are looking at India only. So along with the education abroad, like Ashoka, which is coming up, though it's in the news for all the not the right reasons at the moment. But yes, there are universities which are come up with the right mix of liberal education, which will come up in a big way. And I would also like to put it in a nice way that the NEP is broadening up the dimension of the higher education by allowing multiple entry and exit. This will allow flexibility to the students, as the parents seem to be excited in the response that can this be done? So you see, there is an option of not sending for higher education because they don't want to use up maybe 5 years or 4 years at a stretch. So this now allows them the flexibility as they got back to me after my first orientation on the modern NEP. So this also adds on for going for higher education. Now, my parent segment is not fully aware about the possibilities. So the first and foremost job of the career desk and all the teachers and the housemasters whom I'm using, because they talk to the parents more, they are the fulcrum which drives the residential school. And sometimes even I go to the extent of telling them to use the Punjabi language, which is more, which is more comprehensible, so that the information reaches out as and when and in whichever language and format it is required to be doled out. So this is helping me to really build a base as a school leader, because it's all about that passion to reach out and and as the motto goes, onward and upward, every child needs to move forward in the right direction at the right campus for the right course. So that is what we are looking at.
Thank you for putting this elephant in the room, in the center of the room, that it is not just about the student and the school. It is about the student, parent, and the school. And this trustworthy relationship is extremely important for any worthwhile conversation to happen. Canada certainly is a big market. Australia is a huge market for Indian students as well. And Manisha would probably have the statistics of this, what are the total percentages, and in your next response, if you could share some of that data with us, that would also maybe give some more strength to parents who are looking to take this decision of sending children that far away. When I was boarding that flight to the UK, this was the first time anybody in my family was leaving the country and going overseas. And like you see in Bollywood movies, my entire extended family was there at the Indira Gandhi airport to sort of say, okay, bye-bye. And I know that for that family, it was a quantum leap, and they would eventually, of my generation, many of my cousins would follow those footsteps and go to fantastic university in the world and come back with those experiences. So Manisha, a question more specific to Australia of why it in the current circumstance makes more sense. But in the immediate times that we are in, I had a friend of mine who was sharing with me that, he said that my daughter is currently doing the most expensive online course that there is. That really got me curious as to, what course is she doing? He said, she's studying a full-time master's degree at XYZ university in that country. But because of COVID, it's been a year, she hasn't seen the campus, and it's all been happening online. So as far as I'm concerned, my child is enrolled in an online course, but I'm paying the fee of a regular student. Thus, this is the most expensive online course that there is in the world. So Manisha, in the current COVID times, how has two-part question, how has RMIT evolved, or what kind of cushion has RMIT been able to give to its current students and also to the prospective students, if any? And if you could tell us a little more about Australia. Enough has been said about Germany and the work that a country is doing to attract talent. What is it that Australia is doing to attract this talent?
Thank you once again, Dr. Singh. And if I may just mention to Dr. Ajay Singh, you've talked about Germany and Canada being a very popular option from your school. We'd love to come and talk about Australia to your students as well, given an opportunity. But Dr. Arnab Singh, what you mentioned is correct. In terms of the number of students going to Australia, we've pretty much been number 2 or number 3 destination of choice for students from India. And there are a lot of different reasons for that. One is the multicultural environment in the country. People in Australia come from a variety of different countries, and it's very easy to adjust and adapt to the environment there. Also, the lifestyle is very relaxed. Climate is very similar to India, so you don't see extremes of winters or extremes of summers. And all these things make it easier to adjust for a new international student who's leaving his house, the security of his family, and coming and staying with us. Most of the universities, including RMIT, have an excellent support system to help out the students. When they come, we have an orientation session. We have a lot of cultural activities to help them settle down. In fact, at RMIT University, we have a huge, one of the biggest cohorts of Indian students. And we have the Indian Student Club, which is a part of the student union because of the sheer strength of the number of students. And there are a lot of different activities that are organized through the year to help students kind of blend in with the rest of the students. In terms of affordability and a few other things that have been raised in the discussion, despite COVID, I understand that COVID was something unprecedented, which affected almost every school, university, or college across the world. And like all others, the university moved to online system in March last year. But we kept the option of blended learning, wherein the students would continue with online classes, so there would be no disruption to their studies. And once the borders opened and the situation was in control, the students would be able to travel and continue with their face-to-face studies. So that model is still working. The campus has opened as of February. Australia has been one of those countries which has managed the COVID situation pretty well compared to some of the other countries. Some of the states within Australia are reporting 0 new cases. And that's one of the reasons why the campuses have started opening. We are following government advice, Australian government advice, in terms of when the borders would open and when the new international students can travel. At RMIT, we do understand that the students are studying online, and but they are doing full-time course loads. So we have continued to offer a Future Leaders Scholarship, which is available to South Asian students. And this is for all programs, undergraduate and postgraduate at the university. And they offer a 20% reduction in the annual tuition fees for every year of study. So we've not stopped the scholarship. The scholarship continues to be offered to the students. It's quite easy for the students to get the scholarship as long as they meet the program requirements. That is one of the initiatives that we have taken in terms of what has happened with the COVID. The students also need to bear in mind that while they're studying online, the value of the degree that they would get or the accreditation of that degree internationally would remain the same. Nothing has changed. The classroom lectures continue to be interactive. There are practical components within the programs which are being done. We are using different softwares and apps to have that practical component. And for students who've done our global extension studies, they would have experienced this. Even though they were doing a subject in information technology, we did use a lot of different apps for them to do programming and things like that, which we would normally do in class. So I think I have answered one of your questions. If you could just let me know what the second question was, and I could get back to it.
Actually, you've partially answered both. I want to add a question there, though.
Sure.
There are a lot of students who would have deferred their offers from this year to the next year. Now, and the child could be doing whatever with this time. Now, those students who by the age that they're at are going to be eligible to be applying next year. There is no denying the fact that next year the competition is going to be much more for that seat at the university because the seats are limited. So to teachers and principals who are tuned in here right now, what is your advice to them for students who are applying for, say, the September 2022 intake? What extra should these kids be doing to secure those spaces or to secure those scholarships?
Thank you. For students who have deferred their offers or have taken or are still thinking about when to start with RMIT, what I would advise is to fill the gap between now and their future intake with something which is relevant to their studies. They could do microcreds. So we have something called microcreds, which are available for these students. These are credentials that these are value add-on credentials that they can use on their resumes, and they're completely online. We have short courses available, single and short courses available. So all of these are still relevant to their future study plan, and they are valuably using their time, because that's what is of concern to us, that what were the students doing during this gap period. We do understand that, COVID has impacted the normal day-to-day activities, but even if the students are doing something which is relevant to their studies, that would be okay. In terms of limited seats, for most programs that we offer, we can accommodate the students who are applying. There are certain programs that have limited number of seats, like nursing or medical health programs, which require hospital placements. We do recommend that when the students apply, if they are eligible, to accept the offer as soon as possible. If they accept, then they have a better chance of starting the program in their desired intake. So I think, I hope that answers the question that you have shared with me.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Please, sir.
I know you have any question, or I want to bring 2 or 3 things here. But if you have, you can ask me, then I can cover that also.
I know that the pearls of wisdom that you're going to give are more important than my questions. So please go ahead, and I'll reserve my questions for later.
I admire your art of embarrassment. So thank you very much. You talked about one elephant in the room, which Ajay has alluded to. There are 2 or 3 more elephants, and we must bring them here. Number one is that we have not learned from these foreign places, and universities particularly, how to connect with the schools. In India, I'm very sorry to tell you that Indian universities and colleges, they do not connect with the schools, except for some of the, private universities Ajay was talking about. They have started reaching out, but that reaching out is only very temporary in terms of recruitments and things like that. But in Australia, let us say, for example, in Germany, Canada, university professors go to schools, they conduct research, they make students and teachers part of their cohort, I think that partnership is very, very important. Unfortunately, in India, what is happening is that the universities and colleges, they always find faults with what is happening in K-12. Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? Instead, what should happen is that they should find out what are your needs. What have you identified? What can we identify together, and we respond to it? So that is one problem. The second thing I want to bring here is that the real elephant, I can tell you, is that making higher education boundary-free and visa-free. What do I mean by this? If I tell you the last 30 years of history, or no, very briefly, people from India were going abroad only for their doc and postdoc degrees. Then it came to post-graduation. Then it did not come to undergraduation. Then it came to degrees like diplomas, certification. Manisha is talking about micro-credentials, do short-term courses, come back, enhance your this and that. The undergraduate students started going abroad only in the last 10 to 12 years, and it has become very popular, right? So already with some universities in Australia, some universities in Germany, the talk is on. A lot of cohorts between Australian scholars and Indian scholars are already formed, where the transferability of PhD scholars is being tried out. I would rather recommend that with the credit, awarding in Indian universities, I think for some credits, foreign universities should accept Indian students, so that if not for the entire 3 years, 4 years, at least for 6 months, 1 year, they can go and get that world-class experience. After all, we will be only creating an asset for the world, right? So this kind of visa-free, I use the word for short of a better word, but what I mean is transferability of credits and more inflow of students from both sides, not only from India to abroad, but even foreigners can come here and see what is best in our system. And they can also get micro-credentials for 6 months, 1 year, or something like that. So that is the second thing which I thought that I must discuss here. And of course, the third thing is, you're talking of accessibility and affordability. I think we have to tell our students that what is the higher purpose you have in your mind, and you have to slog it out for you. There is no substitute to hardship and hard work. So you have to make that sacrifice, and ultimately you have to be a global citizen, right? And this global citizenship will bring all the youngsters of the world together, and probably they will become a pressure on the governments to ease out all these restrictions that we have today.
I was right in saying that your wisdom is going to outshine my possible question, and I would still place my question, which was going to be, what is your advice to the Indian universities? And that was the scope of the question I was going to present. And of course, you've already delivered much more. And I would again go back to my own experience as a student of a prestigious university in India and a prestigious university in the knowledge economy. And one difference I very clearly remember is at Hindu College, I was allowed to issue 3 books from my library card. At King's, I was allowed to issue 23 books from my library card. And when they gave me the library card, I almost laughed to say, I don't want to open a library in my room. I was allowed 3 books, but I didn't need them because I would take tutorials from my seniors and then learn them. And I knew that the examination system was predictable. But getting into the first class, it was a 2-hour lesson. And I knew that I didn't know anything, because this time the teacher wasn't just telling me what the philosopher had written about that particular topic. This professor was interested in what my understanding or reflection on the philosopher's work had been. And that would only happen if I read the philosopher before. So it was a big jump of sorts to become owner of your own knowledge experience. And like Dr. Pandey just said, if there was an opportunity for me in, say, first year or second year to experience it for a month, it might have prepared me a lot better. And in that story of 23 books, after that lecture got over, I went to the library and I understood why 23 books were allowed and how there should have been an allowance for a little more, because you were needing to reflect so much more on the body of work that was available. I want to ask this one last question to Mr. Ajay Singh, and we are fast approaching the 12:20 wrap up that we have. Sir, you've experienced both day schools, like from Mayo to Genesis and now to PPS. In terms of aspiration and knowledge that there are these bigger horizons available, where do you place students? Are day school students more aware, or are boarding school students more aware?
Right. Very pertinent question to be putting it like that. It's not about a day school or a residential school, which I would agree to. I would say the school location per se would decide more as to which student community knows more about the possibilities. So if it's a kind of a metro or a city-based urban life, there the students are more involved and more ideally suited to have more information vis-a-vis a child who is sitting in the hinterlands, though very aspirational, though very hardworking, but may not have the information. So it depends about where the child is located, not exactly a day school or a residential school, because schools do communicate. So a school in a village where I typically like to go and address is one where I was given the opportunity to come and address those students. They didn't have a clue. So I took their aptitude testing. I spoke to them. I spent one full day, and that gave me a lot of satisfaction. This was in a village. Thankfully, my friend was a principal there who took this initiative, and I really enjoyed that. This is what we need to do. We need to reach out to those places, like in cricket, what we are doing. The BCCI is reaching out to the small zones, small areas, and you find Dhonis and everybody better than the world. This is where we need to reach out as educational hubs, not only our places, across.
Right. Thank you for guiding this discussion to this point that we've reached, and how I'm in complete agreement with what you've just said. It matters more as to where is this student really coming from, what are the previous generations done, which city are they in, do they have a library close by. And with internet coming in, we are able to actually dislodge a lot of these old boundaries that existed. And I'm hoping the sourcescholarships.com is going to further democratize this knowledge platform that exists and bring this knowledge to that child who's experiencing this firsthand. Ravi spoke about how they would be able to filter possible scholarships based on what they want to do, their gender, their demography, is it a need-based scholarship or is it a merit-based scholarships? And on top of that, they're also making sure that only the top 500 universities scholarships that are going to be on that platform. So in a way, it is going to be quite a lovely curated platform that I personally think my school students would be able to benefit from. And I'm sure this is something that Mr. Singh and Dr. Pandey would echo. That we need these platforms. Absolutely. And we need visionary people who genuinely want to solve this market and get the best information available to the child at hand. So thank you very much for being part of this fantastic discussion. I learned many new things. Manisha, best of luck for your endeavors. Dr. Pandey, thank you very much for your insightful comments. And Mr. Singh, expect me at your campus someday soon. I'll be knocking.
Please come over. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arnav.